So, I will say Cleveland University is pretty heavy when it comes to how seriously we take our DC program. So, you'll be taking 30 credit hours per try. That's 10 classes. So, pretty heavy right off the bat. To kind of give you an idea of what that looks like schedule-wise, it's a 7:30 to 3:30 class block with a break from 11:30 to 12:30 for lunch. So, pretty heavy, pretty fast. They're exam heavy classes, and all of this is to prep you for the board exams, right? We want you to be able to get your licensure. That's the goal, alongside with getting your doctorate. So we have pretty rigorous testing, we have pretty rigorous study structure, because we want you to succeed and we want you to not just succeed but thrive. And in doing that, that might be something that you're not used to. Some of you are coming straight from just getting that 90 credits. And so you are not used to having 30 credits per try, or you're used to having maybe 18 classes for a semester. So it's a lot, but you can do it. And I am here to help you see how that's possible. So, kind of off the bat, now that we talked about how kind of heavy the class load is and the expectations are, I kind of want to talk to you a little bit about flex/split scheduling. So, this is just something I want you to be aware of now, as opposed to figure it out a little too late. What this is it reduces your course load. So, you're not taking that full 30 credits. But it also extends the number of terms that you will have. So obviously, it's going to take you longer to graduate. It adds to the total cost of the program, and you can only split and push back to 15 trimesters to complete. So that's 5 calendar years. Another thing to note is that this is only allowed through Try 4. After Try 4, you cannot do the flex or split scheduling because at that point your classes are too specified, and that's when we're kind of getting down to that nitty-gritty. If this is something you're interested in, you can contact Dr. David Foos, who is the Dean of Student Affairs, and he can kind of get you set up with that, give you some more information, and help you get going. Again, this is just kind of something I want you to be familiar with off the bat, especially for some of you. This is very overwhelming and rigorous, and we're here to make sure you succeed. And so if that means taking a little bit of a reduced course load, then that's what you need to do, right? So let's talk a little bit more about the policies. So first and foremost, attendance. You need to be in class in order to learn the information, right? So you cannot exceed 15% of the scheduled class time. So basically what that means, if you are scheduled to be in class, you should be doing that. Obviously, life happens. So if you need to take a leave of absence for any reason, please, please, please communicate. That is going to be your best friend, communication. Make sure you're talking with your professors. Make sure you're talking with the registrar if you need to take a leave of absence. Get that squared away. Same with financial aid. We want you to succeed. And so if you need to take a break, if something has happened, we hope it doesn't, but if it does, know that there are things that you can do where you can have that time and not be punished for missing. Okay, so just try to be in classes as much as you can. Communicate to your professors. Obviously, the attendance policies are outlined more detailed in your syllabi as well as in your student and academic handbooks. Same with grades. All of your required coursework must be completed with a 70% or better. That's what we strive for. That helps you keep your GPA up. And so you want to make sure you're doing well in all of your classes. And I would also really recommend not having a skating by mindset. You saw how heavy the course load is, how heavy the credit load is. This is not a program for you to be like, C's get degrees, right? You want to be succeeding and thriving and making sure you're understanding the material and not just scraping by every try, right? Because it's less stress on you. At the end of the day, it might seem easier to just kind of scrape by, but it's not. It's really not. So we'll talk about some success strategies later on. We'll also talk about what happens because it happens. Sometimes you have a really bad test and you fall under it. That's okay. We are here to help. Speaking of withdrawals, you have until week 12 of the try to withdraw from a class. That just shows a W on your transcript. That means you're not getting that F. You can retake the class. That's just something that we can help you talk about when you're trying to decide whether you should withdraw from a class or not. Talk to the registrar about it as well. Talk about how that would affect your schedule. things like that. But again, week 12 is what you need to keep in mind. Holidays do affect that. So for instance, the Thanksgiving holiday falls on that deadline. So make sure that you're paying attention, talking to the registrar about when the exact date is, referring to your academic calendar, things like that. And make sure even if you don't think you're going to withdraw from a class, just have that date in mind just in case, right? Going off of that, with your grades, you need to have a 2.0 GPA or higher. That is something that you need to maintain. Again, we don't want to be skating by, we want to be thriving. So let's talk about what happens if you fall under. So, if you fall under a 2.0, you are on academic concern. And I don't want you to have shame with this. Again, sometimes you just have one bad test at the beginning of a try, and that puts you at a deficit, right? Your grades aren't going to define who you are. Don't let that define who you are. Just use it as a point to reassess, say, okay, what's working for me and what's not working for me. And part of that is what academic concern is there for. So, the first time you fall below a 2.0, you will be on academic concern. That basically just puts you on a list that gets sent to the Academic Support and Access Center, and we will set up a meeting with you. And again, this meeting is not like a you should be doing better. It's just a conversation that we're going to have to see what's going on, and figure out where we could maybe help you. So maybe you need more help with your note taking. That's not as strong as it needs to be, and you're having trouble remembering stuff when it comes to the test. We'll just have a conversation, talk through different strategies, and go from there. The second time you drop below a 2.0, you will be on academic warning. You will be required to have more meetings with us. Again, just a conversation. It's not something to fear, and it's not something that you should feel shame towards. We're here to help you, and this is part of that. We want you to succeed, and part of that is doing that intervention early on and being like, hey, what's going on? Just checking in. So the third time your GPA drops below a 2.0, this is where you should start being concerned. Really, you should be concerned the first time, but obviously oopsies happen. Third time is a point of like alarm bells, because the fourth time you drop below a 2.0, you will be dismissed from the program. So that third time is academic probation. That's when you really need to pull it together, and really like buckle down. Because again, we don't want to get to that. And again, we don't want to get to that point, right? But should it happen, again, we will be meeting with you more regularly. We'll be doing what we can to maybe talk about, maybe you need to split, maybe you need to withdraw from some classes. Like, let's talk about what we can do to take this point where you have dropped and turn it and pivot to make things better for you. Okay?